We went up West Indian Road, up by Grumbly's. There's a little brook. We caught a lot of fish, and I think we fed the whole reserve. Whoever came by, they had trout. God, must be over 100 trout. There was a lot of trout. Me and Dad and Reggie and Sonny, we went fishing up there, and just a little old brook. It's surprising, even today I think of that, because when I go by that, I point that out. There's that little brook. We got a lot of fish out of that little brook right there. We used to go down to the brook and do our laundry with Aunt Tilly and Cecile Marr and all them. We'd go down and they'd wash up a distance from us, and we'd swim, and they'd put the clothes on the bushes to dry, and we swam all afternoon till clothes were dry and we were dried. We'd go picking mayflowers, and the best part was having tea and Lusky or 4 cents. They would go to St. John's, New Brunswick, at the market to sell the mayflowers. A lot of them from here went. And Mum used to go, and she stayed there. And we picked mayflowers. We bunched them, boxed them, put them on the train, and that's how she got them. Well, we had a lot of fun when we were kids around here. We had made our own fun. Did a lot of crazy things. We used to walk a lot. We did a lot of walking. We walked all around the reserve, all down Brown Flat, all around, come up to Mill Village, come up around, or we went up Tough Street and around. We did a lot of walking. I couldn't go to school till I was 7, so couldn't go to school till after December. I used to go over Grammys and watch for them guys come out of school, because the school used to be in a ball field, and Jim and Tootsie and the other ones used to come through the field, through the shortcut, wait for them at the window, look out at the window waiting for them. Oh, we used to coast at Churchill, and we had bobsleds. Sonny and Reggie made like a car out of it. They put them together, and they made a hood on it and a steering wheel. But we used to go down almost to the, you know where we burn Christmas trees? That's how far we would go from the hill. Go down and take 10 seconds and take you 2 hours to walk up. And then we used to coast from this hill up to the graveyard hill. We'd go back and forth. Yeah, and if the old light will start blinking, that means we got to come in. We'd come in, our clothes are just froze solid on us. But I remember Dad going to the market in Halifax with rabbits. He used to camp out in Oxford, and that's with just a lean-to. St. Anne's used to be great. Oh my God, they come from everywhere. Our road would be packed. The dance would start right after supper. They'd have an outdoor stage. The men made it. And right after supper, the music started, and danced all night. It was daylight when people went home. It was really, really super cool. Oh, we had about the best ball players going. Ball game, we went everywhere to all the ball games, just about. 25 cents on the back of a truck. We were blocked into it, was just like cattle. But we're happy campers. Yeah, we went everywhere. Lands and, oh God, what a time. Prejudice, oh my God, we got it all. You know, there was a game because you'd see them walking by. We wouldn't be long going up either. Sass, lot of sass. But it was over too when the game was over, I guess, because we didn't do anything about it. We got it worse than we gave, though. Yeah, we weren't that bad. But I think they were jealous of our guys anyway, because they were good. They were really good.
Spring of the year. My husband and his brothers, they would get ready, and my brothers get ready. They would make nets. These nets were used to go smelt fishing. Now mind you, snow is still on the ground, but they're getting ready because they know it's coming spring and they know when the smelts come in. So they always told us that we'll get a few hot days starting like spring, and then all of a sudden we get snow, and they called that the smelt snow. It was snowing, so that means the smelts are up the river. So they would all get together and they would go out and get their smelts. They would have their nets put in their trucks, vehicles, or whatever they had. They would put their nets in there, and they have their little buckets or whatever they used to put the smelts in, and their boots, and they would go smelting. And it was always in Shuby River. For some reason, they always went to Shuby River. From Shuby River to Stewiacke, they would go there. There was a place in Stewiacke they would go, and it was more easier for them because the river wasn't that wide, so they could put their nets in there. And every time they put their nets in there, the nets were always full of smelts. So they got all kinds of smelts. So in them few days, I mean, I'm telling you, this reserve, they got lots of smells, and they were giving out a lot of them. I mean, they would say, now they knew who the old people were, and they knew who liked fish, and they knew where to take it. So that's what my boys do even now. If an elder asks them, can you get me some? They would. Mayflower season was the biggest time for mothers because they went out and picked mayflowers, and we would get lots and lots of mayflowers, and they taught us how to bunch them up, and they would get boxes, and they would line the boxes up with newspaper and moss. Moss kept their flowers just right so they wouldn't be overbloomed when you open up the box. So we would put bunches and bunches, rows and rows of mayflowers we would have in there. And then we would catch the train down Shuby that would take us to St. John's. Or Simon Nevins used to take a van load of ladies. His van, the back of his van was full of mayflowers. And he would have like about 4 to 6 women in his van going to St. John's, where he had a brother that lived there, and he had his mom with him because she would go selling mayflowers. Then we would go to St. John's, to the market. That's what it was called, St. John's Market. And we would set up tables there, and we would put our flowers out. And when the market opened up, people would come in and get them. Them days it was pretty good making, $2.50 a bunch. And then the following few years later, they became $5. But after that, as the ladies got older, they stopped picking mayflowers and stuff like that. But mayflowers was mainly for the mothers, for Mother's Day, and buying stuff for their kids, to take home. They would shop in St. John for, like shoes and clothes and pants or whatever they needed. Even food, they would buy food there at the market, and we would put them in them boxes. And Uncle Simon, if they had any kind of meat or fish in there, he would salt the boxes, put salt in there, and he would put the ladies' stuff in the boxes, and he would name them whose box belonged to who. And same with shopping. He would do the same thing. Put your name on your box so you won't lose it. And if it was left on his van, he would knock on your door and deliver it to you. That's how Uncle Simon was. My father, up the road, Levi Gugu, he would be cutting the sheens. And we used to call it the horse. He had this wooden thing made like a horse. And he would, with a draw knife, he had a special knife made specially to cut these sheens. And as these sheens came off, he would get the boys to pick them up, put them in a bundle, and roll them up, put them in a corner. then you'll see rows and rows of sheens. So if anybody needed the sheens to make their baskets, they would come and they would get them. And not only that, they had bought dye, and the women would dye the sheens. Now I remember them taking them over at Aunt Madeline, Julian's, and they would be there most of the evening. They would have pots and pots on the wood stove of different color dyes, and they would dye these pretty colors of blue and yellow and red and purple. You'd be amazed of all the beautiful colors they had. And they would put them put newspaper on the floor, and that's how they dried their sheens. And then when they were dry the next day, they would come pick them up and they would take them home and they would make their baskets. They had bundles and bundles of baskets in their houses. When I first married my husband, Gerald, we first got married, yes, they called him Indian, my mother-in-law, the boys would go out and tell them, go check your snares. Let's get some rabbits. So boys would go out, and the boys would come home with 5 or 6 rabbits on each hand. They would bring them home. So we would have a big pile of rabbits on the kitchen table, and then she said, we're going to clean them. So she would bring a bucket, and there's the way she had to clean it. She would cut the paws down, and she would cut the belly down, and then she would grab them by the leg and she would pull it. She would skin it right down, and not a mess, no hair or nothing anywhere. She would take the head right down to the bucket and pull the fur right off and would go in there. And then that's how it was, like assembly line. She was cleaning the rabbit and never made a mess. You've never seen a mess anywhere because they had stuff already there ready to get rid of it. And then they used to take them to Shuby, the old Hadley store. They used to take a bunch of rabbits there and sell them. And then there was another store, the government store they called it. They went there, I think it was the co-op they called it. They went there and they sold rabbits there. And they went to meat market, Pineo's meat market, and they used to take them there and sell rabbits there. So that's how they would get their flour, tea, baking powder, shortening, things that they needed at home. The roads were narrow. We had cars, but we had a cop car, old Bill Duncan. First he was walking, then he had a car, and he would come up the road with it, and he would check around, go back down the road. Then if you got sick, Steve Knockwood had a car, so he was the taxi or medical driver. Years later he became medical driver, but people got sick, he would take them to the doctors down Shuby. And then if they had to go to Toro, he would take them to Toro. Oh, Steve Knockwood. He did that for years and years. And then later on, John Marr, he had a car. And Steve Maloney had a car. He had an old Model T Ford, I think that's what he had. And John Maloney, he had a car. So they had these old cars that you would have to crank up. That was so funny. But they used to drive them around. If you needed to go somewhere, people would hire them to, take them where they had to go. I said, but there was not very many cars up here. I think there was only like 3 or 4, maybe 5 cars. That was it, No TVs in them days. We only had lamp lights. There was no TV. Years later on, we had TV. John Maloney got a TV. Well, with his check. Army veteran. Got a TV up there. The night that you'll never forget. All the kids would go up there, and he'd make them sit on the floor and be quiet. And he'd let them watch TV. The big thing was, oh my God, watching all these crazy shows, Beverly Hillbillies, watching the news. Oh, yeah, and then if the news came on, you had to keep quiet. And if you couldn't keep quiet, he would tell you there's the door. He said, you can't carry on when I'm watching the news. You had to watch the news. That was so funny. My grandmother liked to go to church at night, benediction she would call it. So she would take her little lamp with her. And then on our way home from church, she would have lighted up walking home. And it would be so dark walking home. You could see the light coming way far away, but we make sure we all get home. And if you went somewhere, you always took a light with you. Them days there was no street lights, no flashlights. You had little oil lamps to get around. So, and if you needed something to get sewed or made, you see Big Mom. She would make it. Oh my God, she made us, we had a good laugh one year. Mom, St. Anne's was a big thing for Big Mom. And we all had to get dressed up and go to church. And the girls would wear white, where they made their first communion. You had a little veil, little white dress. And the boys would have little gray dress-up pants and a white shirt. And get this, my grandmother used to make them. She would make the pants for the boys. They would be dressed up in little white shirts. And they would have those little straps on them, And they would keep their shoes nice and clean. So this St. Anne's Day, we're going to go into church. Well, Kenny and Johnny Mac disappeared. Didn't know where they went. Couldn't find them. Anyway, my father was hollering for them, so they went looking for them. They found them in the shed. They had got into the paint. Two little boys, all dressed up, paint themselves gray. They were all gray. Their white shirts were gray. Their hair, they were gray all over. Talk about holler. Oh my God. And they couldn't stop laughing. My father wanted to get mad, but he couldn't get mad. He had this grin on him like, what did you guys? You look like two gray ghosts. Oh, they had a hard time getting that stuff off. Had to burn their clothes, and my poor grandmother worked right hard making those clothes for St. Anne's.